Alright, and continuing my X-Men-a-thon, now we have the 90s animated series, which I'm going to review real quick. The show is very iconic. It's had a lot said in its favor, and there's not really much that I can add to it in a positive light that hasn't already been said. This is one of my favorite shows from the 90s. Certain aspects of it I enjoyed as a child have kind of changed since I've gotten older, and like some certain things I understand a little better, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's a very iconic show. I think fact is, it is one of the best animated series for the X-Men, mostly because it adapted a lot of the stories for the 90s, and it kind of ushered in a lot of the other good Marvel shows for the 90s decade, with the exception of the United They Stand Avengers series. But this is a good show. The Dark Phoenix Saga was an excellent adaptation, and I enjoyed the first. I'll talk about the DVD volumes too. Rewatching this, I enjoy the first two seasons perhaps the best, because of the ongoing story and the fact that they kept the episodes in order. I love the stuff as it leads on up into the battle in the Savage Land with Sinister's forces against Magneto and Xavier's X-Men. It was great. After the third, or starting with the third volume on down to the fifth, a slight annoyance happens with the fact that they put it out, but they aired a lot of the episodes out of order that they were supposed to be in, with the exception of, a lot of your multi-part episodes, they stay in the order that they're supposed to, but a lot of the individual episodes are kind of out of sync, and that's something I was a little disappointed by. Now, looking back on certain aspects of this series, what I don't like about this, now that I watch it as an older mind, Jubilee. I used to like her as a kid when she was in this, but, after the Night of the Sentinels episodes now, she is annoying, and I think this is kind of hard for the fact, I think the attempt was to, introduce a young character in there so that, a lot of kids possibly would have someone to identify with in this show. Not really done that well with me. I found her annoying after the Night of the Sentinels, and I think the writers of the show didn't really know what to do with her, and as the show goes on, she becomes more and more downplayed to me. And I really didn't like her. We still keep this, the X-Men are still kept unto themselves most of the time, but aside from Miss Marvel and Captain America showing up in this series, this is mostly the X-Men show, but we do have some very nice references and tipping the hat to other aspects, not only of heroes on Earth, but in fact the entire Marvel Universe as well. This is a great show, and if there's a lot that you don't get about Marvel, you can kind of pick up something here and there, and it might make you curious. Like during the Dark Phoenix episode, you might become curious about Gladiator or the Starjammers, or you might wonder who the Kree or the Skrull are when Lilandra was talking to them during the whole Dark Phoenix thing. Stuff like that was cool with me. And then you have other aspects. Characters will make cameos throughout this, and we'd have nods to, other small-time characters like Ghost Rider, and even a little more obscure ones like Howard the Duck. I thought that was awesome. Didn't like Jubilee. I felt that as the series kind of does tend to overact. Now, I got kind of sucked in and was sitting on the edge of my seat when I was watching this as a kid for certain things. But this show does tend to kind of ham it up a little bit on some things. as far as the show goes in seasons, I really don't like the 5th season, which is probably why the show was stopped, because they started catching up with the times, and I felt that the show took a sharp decline once I got to the 5th volume and started watching a lot of the episodes. The animation was not that good to me. Let's see what else. The stories were not that interesting. Stories like introducing the fact that Magneto is not Nightcrawler, but Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch's father it was an interesting twist, but it wasn't really that interesting to me after I watched it. I compare the 5th season of the 90s X-Men to the first 4 seasons are what Gargoyles was, and then the 5th season to me is a little bit of what the Goliath Chronicles was. Wasn't really that great. And, you know, Graduation Day, yes, a nice closeout to it, but even then, it's still not that great to me. I think probably the best thing, or the closest thing to the conclusion that this show had as a best episode before it got to the end was the Battle Beyond Good and Evil, which is where Apocalypse kidnapped all the psychics and had like the reality threatening agenda that he had going on. I thought that was probably the closest that you got to a good conclusion in my mind for that series. But and, you know, a lot of times, like I said, the voice acting does kind of ham it up, and we have, you know, the fact that a lot of the characters in this show, particularly Rogue and well, a little more than Rogue, I would say Charles Xavier. See how many times he could scream at the top of his lungs. I mean, just tropes like that is kind of kicked in my maturity, and, you know, it's certain aspects of the show that I did like are kind of lost to me now that I've gotten older. But overall, the series is good, barring the 5th season to me. I do enjoy this series. I would highly recommend it to people that are old school fans of this series, or just, you know, wanting a good representation of the X-Men that would explain things out to you in a little more detail than what some of the newer series have done. I do highly recommend this series.